Hey, Debbie.
Did it! I did it twice in a row.
You did. So awesome when systems and models work.
I love it. I love it.
Too. So, welcome, Debbie Frapp, the
Thank you.
queen of fierce conversations.
Oh, not sure I'd go queen, and I'll take princess.
Okay. So this ought to be a fun time. I'm not sure if tables are going to get turned on me or not.
Oh, no. To you.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we have a pause moment? Sorry. I said I'd never do that to you.
I know. Yeah. So I have put my phone on a setting to where it's not supposed to interrupt me, but evidently when I'm getting a call, it's still interrupting me, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. My technology today has been a real growth opportunity. My videos have not been emailing out and all kinds of fun stuff. So
of technology. Yeah. And it really, it humbles us.
Yeah. That along with my children.
Yes.
So, yeah. So Debbie, tell us your title within KW.
So I am a MAPS one-on-one leadership coach, and I also am a group coach with MAPS Fierce Conversations.
Fierce Conversations with Debbie Frapp.
Yes.
So tell us exactly, what does that mean? What is a fierce conversation?
You know, a fierce conversation, if you looked at the definition that Susan Scott, which it's based on the book that she authored, a fierce conversation is one in which we come out from behind ourselves into the conversation and make it real.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's so easy, and yet it's a simple definition. It's not easy to do.
No, because it makes us uncomfortable.
It does. And a lot of times I think that we're always looking to, who does this person need me to show up as, or want me to show up as, or how do I show up so that I really look good and be right? You know, those two human conditions that all of us have. And so that's really, I think, the challenge of a fierce conversation.
Yeah. You're so that yes. Yes. Thank you, Debbie.
Yes.
Yes. I sat at a listing appointment the other day, and they needed me to show up as, a big SC personality, and that is not me. It made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yet they needed fierce conversations about numbers in very detailed sense.
Yeah.
And I had to step up and be that person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and I think it's also, there's a difference between, we have to have enough behavioral flexibility, right, to meet somebody where they're at, and at the same time stay true to who we are.
Right.
And that's where things, I think it's really easy to get off track and get lost. I know that's where I get lost anyway.
Mm-hmm. How much of a chameleon are you, and do you know when to pull back?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So tell us a little bit about Debbie and your journey, and where were you, and then how did you get into this position?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I can just say on a personal level, I am a mom of two amazing boys. I raised them on my own. I was a single mom, and I'm still a single mom, actually. I'm still a power mom. And and I also have the amazing title now of being a grandma. I have 3 grandchildren, and so that's really amazing. And I like to say grandparenting is your do-over for where you messed up with your kids. So I'm getting some do-overs right now, and it's kind of fun to look at that. As far as on my journey where I am today professionally, I spent 18 years in the mental health field, and I worked with people with addictions, and I found that path after I had been married, and both of my husbands were alcoholic addicts, one better than the other as far as in his progress. And I found myself to figure out what was wrong with them. And I realized that it was also what was wrong with me, and what caused me to choose that. So I spent 18 years in the mental health field with addictions. And then there was this natural progression around people that were in crisis. And so I worked with the police departments and negotiations with the SWAT negotiators, and I worked with suicide intervention. And that was a pretty intense world. And very intense. And
made you a really big diamond, darling. No pressure.
A lot of pressure. That was true.
Yeah.
There was lots of pressure. And, you know, it was through that field that I had a friend of mine that was in real estate. And she would tell me all the time, come play with me. It's so much fun. Come play with me. It's so much fun. And so she was right. It was fun and it was different. And it wasn't long into that I was offered the opportunity of being a team leader here in Lubbock, and spent 7 years doing that with an amazing market center in Lubbock, Texas. And then I was the general manager for all of West Texas for a period of time. And it was then that I had applied to become a MAPS coach. And so I've been coaching for 7 years this July, and coach primarily with leadership. Fierce Conversations, the way that came about was, of course, I took Fierce Conversations the first time when I was a team leader. And I kept going back. I kept going back because I was using it in my own life. I was using it in my leadership. And in 2010, I went up to Seattle with Fierce Inc. and became a certified facilitator and trainer.
Nice.
For that. So yeah, so
nice.
That's my path.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to be clear. You're the only one who teaches Fierce Conversations in our KW family.
And actually, we have some others that are certified. And we actually, Brad Knowles recently also got certified. And with MAPS Fierce Conversation, he is teaching the live workshops as well. So we've grown a little bit, which is really nice. Okay. It's really nice.
Yeah, that is. That's great to have more perspective around
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And so if I were to register for Fierce Conversations, what would I need to be prepared for?
Oh, goodness. Well, you can take Fierce in two methods. One is you can take the group program. In fact, we have one launching March the 26th.
Awesome.
It's 8 sessions. It's done in an hour every week. So it's a group coaching program, and we do it webinar style. They're recorded. So if somebody misses one, they can always go back. And the feedback that I get is people love that they're recorded, because sometimes they'll listen to something and they want to dig deeper. So then they can go back and re-listen to it. So it's funny because sometimes it'd be weeks later, and then I'll finally get, somebody's action items from a call because they went back and listened to it. And then we also have the live workshop, and it's 1 day. So it's a totally different interaction and experience. It's a full day, and you're getting it to do it with people. So to do that, a market center can request to bring that in. And it's, we just, I can send people information of what that would look like for a market center. So
very nice.
Definitely do that.
That's a huge growth.
It is. So what's fun is I've actually had people that have brought it in the market center, and they've had their teenagers, their college kids, talk about, Fierce and a family, vendors. Yeah. This is a great way, because it's not real estate specific at all. Even though the program has been Kellerized to kind of put it in alignment with some of our systems and models, it can be used for anybody. So it's really cool.
Well, because I think what is so key is that many of us, we have conversations daily, all around us, all the time.
We do.
What we don't do is we don't focus on them to a higher level. And I think that's so key.
It is.
And if we don't do it fiercely, what are we missing? So many opportunities. Right?
Yeah, well, and we get on autopilot, I think, a lot of times, Claire, and we kind of show up, and we're not really digging deeper and looking at how am I showing up in these conversations, and is it the best version of me? And is it the version of me that's going to allow for growth for myself and for somebody else? So
which leads me to some other questions that I know we've chatted about a little bit. So, what are the questions that you think that we should be asking of our children? What are those fierce questions that we should be asking of our children?
I loved that you asked me that, and it immediately took me back to, I wish I had had Fierce a lot earlier when my kids were younger. And again, grandchildren are do-overs. So I think, really it's, if I can, like with Autumn, my granddaughter that'll be 6, I'm constantly asking her questions, not like, how's your day, honey? What did you learn in school? Those are all important. But to allow her, like, ask her the questions of how does she get to discover who she is? And to know it's okay. So I'll ask her questions like, so was there anything that made you sad today?
Yeah.
What made you happy today? Who was kind to you? What was some, I asked her all of those kind of questions because number one, I've even asked her, did anything make you angry today? I want her to know that it's okay to have those feelings and those emotions, and that will tell us something about ourselves. Now she'll be 6 in April, so she doesn't have it at a really high level, but by me having those conversations now, it's going to do that. If kids are older, it's where are you showing up authentically? And how does that line out with what's important to you, right? Where is it in conflict? Were you showing up that way because somebody wanted you to, or because you thought that? So it's those kind of questions. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's
no,
and sometimes we can model that.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest teacher. I've started asking mine at the end of the week, who did you help this week? Yeah. And when I first started doing that, my 7-year-old said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I like it when other people help you, know. So were you a helper to anyone else?" Right. To start training that mindset of that. Yeah. Yeah. And so then on that same line, Debbie, we as women have so much to self-improve upon and learn from others as well. So what fierce questions should we be asking of ourselves as women, as individuals, and as a group as a whole?
Well, and I think, for one, if I look at relationships with women, I've had this conversation with several people before, and it's interesting the way that we view other women. I've heard people say, well, other women are competition to me. And in what way? Right. So I think some of the questions that we ask ourselves at a big level is, what does it mean to me to have really empowering female relationships? And I am so blessed that I have those. And even if I have just a few, I don't need a whole lot. If I have a few of those relationships where it doesn't matter what I have going on, they love me and I can show up authentically, with them. And when I have just a few of that, it helps me see the whole, females are not competition. It's about how can I empower other women? Yeah. And the way that I empower them is, number one, show up who I am and help them be authentic with them and share my story and let them see me as somebody that, I can be a strong female, and I can also be a vulnerable female, see all sides of it, not just one way. So I think, from a big level, how am I viewing my relationships with women? Where can I improve those? Where do they line up with my values and just relationships in general? We all have values about what we want to see in relationships. And do I have female relationships and as well as significant other relationships, and as well as my kids? So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's where is that showing up? Yeah. Right. What does it look like? What does it look like? And where am I pretending? Like, where am I wearing a mask? And if I'm wearing a mask somewhere, we're good at where I know I can be really good at wearing masks. Yeah. And if I'm wearing a mask, it means somehow I need to protect myself, or I'm looking to impress somebody, or I'm, there's something that's not matching up with if one of my key values is authenticity, it's not in alignment. Yeah. So I think those are the tough questions. And, sometimes it's been, books that I've read. I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown's work. I think it's really great. There was another one called Lovable by Kelly Flanagan that really helps you understand how you show up. And so in addition to the fierce conversations, there's other people's work out there that can kind of help spark you on to know what are the questions I need to be asking about myself. So. Right. Because to me, it's the questions that promote so much growth. And so I'm always wondering, what am I not asking of myself? What else can I ask? How else can I grow? Be honest with yourself, right? When you're looking at that. And I think that's the part, I know on my journey, it's first I had to know who I was. And then I had to be okay with that. There were parts of myself that I'm just like, I don't like that part of me. And I still have to embrace it anyway. And this
Yes.
isn't a journey of perfection. It's about being the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. And then showing up in the middle of the mess.
Absolutely. And it can get really, really messy when you start digging in
Real quick.
and really quick.
Yeah.
And so then that's when you've got to be really kind and gentle to yourself. I really don't know that I could be where I am today and have asked myself some of those tough questions if, number one, I didn't have really empowering women in my world in terms of friends and relationships, and I have some amazing ones, and also without a coach. I have so blessed to have amazing coaches, not just in my professional world, but to have a coach that really helps me uncover some of this stuff and to say, okay, what is this telling me? What is this telling me about myself? And what do I need to take away from this? And I've been
Debbie, have you experienced that in transformational coaching?
You know, I guess you could say yes. I have experienced that in transformational coaching. And it's just, you know, even before I came to Keller Williams, in people that I had in my world, and you may not have even called him a coach, but they were a mentor. You know, they were teaching me lessons way before, you know, Keller Williams and other coaches. But yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So I think the other thing that I'm hearing you say a lot of is, and we just haven't put a word on it, is encouragement. Because I think that we as women don't encourage one another the way we should, whether it's through coaching or whether it's through mentorship or whether it's through friendship. And it's who you surround yourself with. It's that support. It's that village that you have. It's that encouragement. So many times I think we have a stigma sometimes of picking ourselves apart internally and within a group, whatever it is, and that encouragement, which is why the mission statement of this group is so important to fall back on, where we encourage, mentor, and leverage women towards their big why. And that means so much to me. So that the vision is that this will be the company of choice for women. And so you are amazing, Debbie Frapp. And I look so forward to fierce conversations. I'm sure you're going to unpack me real good one of these days. And I know that makes me very uncomfortable, which means it's a good thing and needs to happen. And we all know what that means. If you're uncomfortable, that's growth, and that's a great thing. And so I so appreciate time, your wisdom, because it's heated. So thank you.
Absolutely. And
thank you, Debbie Frapp.
I love your mission. I love your mission. And by the way, you can't see in me what you don't have in yourself. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And I really, really love the mission of this group. And if there's anything else I can support you with, you let me know. All right.
Will do. So much, Debbie Frapp. Appreciate you.
Welcome. My pleasure.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.